How's it going, Terran House? Today, Sevagoth Prime came out. So, we're going to be talking about little Sevagoth Prime, as Brother Bildad likes to call him. And this frame is really good. The main issue with Sevagoth, in my opinion, is he has 3 parts, right? So, for those of you who don't know, this is Sevagoth. Sevagoth, Nautilus, we're going to put you away for a minute because you keep freaking out. Sevagoth has Sevagoth the frame, his shadow, and his shadow's claws. That means that you have to pretty much format 2 whole frames and an exalted weapon. So, old Sevagoth normal, has quite a bit of a forma investment that's hard to say just do unless you really like the frame. But now that Sevagoth Prime is out, assuming that they don't do something where they make like Apex Prime or some shit, Sevagoth Prime is going to be the best form of Sevagoth, so he's going to be the one that's the most worth investing in. And for Sevagoth, I have thrown together this build. This build is really, really nice. Shadow Haze and Dark Propagation both come from either Cephalon Suda or the parent sequence, which is really nice because it doesn't matter if you sided with Arbiters, Suda, and Steel Meridian, or if you sided with Loka, Perrin, and Red Veil, because you can manage to get these either way as long as you're invested with either Suda or Perrin sequence. Haze makes it so that Shadow Haze makes it so that whenever you cast Reap, which is the one, you get up to 3 friendly shadows, and it applies Death's Harvest onto all of those enemies. We'll talk about Death's Harvest in a minute. And Dark Propagation makes it so that whenever you cast So, which is your 2, enemies are marked by it, and then they explode and do it again. So basically you've turned all of the enemies into bombs. And this does a lot of damage. As we can see here, doing the test real quick. Let's just throw up some Corpus units. And 2, 1. And they're all dead. They are all dead. He's bleeding out. He'll get there. He was on the edge. As you can see, he's dying. Oh, he actually survived it. Damn. But yeah, quite a bit of a boom there on those enemies. I don't know if that's a bug. I don't know if that's intended. But that is just like I've decided to nuke the room. So, real quick breakdown on Sevagoth. Passive, whenever Sevagoth dies, so let's go on ahead and get ourselves killed real quick. Whenever Sevagoth dies, you turn into this state. It might take me a minute to die. You basically, yep, there's my shield gate. You go into your tomb, and then you become the shadow. And you just eat people as the shadow. As you can see, I've got a little counter in the bottom right there that currently has a 1 on it. I actually let the shadow die trying to explain things. But if the counter starts at 5, let's just die real quick. Why am I invulnerable? Oh, there we go. If we die, we go into this. You can see it starts at 5, 4, 3. Oh, I missed that guy. 2. We're basically trying to hit them with a 2. Damn it, I failed to do it again. But you would be able to revive if I was better at this. I'm gonna kill these guys off and reset real quick. Let's pick an easier enemy to kill. Clear kill. Yeah, we'll go the Auric and battle group real quick. They're a little bit friendlier to me. Oh, I paused there. Yeah, hold on. Great production value. Well, unpause the AI. So let these guys kill me real quick. As you can see, this build, by the way, has quite a bit of shield gate. As you can see, my shields are down, and I'm still taking like quite a bit of damage before I die. But then we just two more, 1 more, and we're back up. Just in case you thought that like AoE nuke that I was doing was only working because they were clumped up. It does work better when enemies are clumped up. Oh, and I died again. Oh no, the level 200 guy is on. This is actually like not even incorrect on how the like core gameplay loop of this frame works, you tend to die quite a bit as the nuke part, and you play the game in this kind of limbo where you're constantly dying as the you're in this limbo where you're constantly dying as the kind of squishy form here. But as you kill things with your 2 and affect them with your 1, you build up your meter that lets you use your 4. So as you can see, I'm just in my 4 now. The little bar over there on the right, that weird icon above my combo multiplier, that shows you how long you can stay in your shadow. And your shadow, just like your... I keep hitting 5 instead of 4, trying to call back. Your shadow, just like regular Sevagoth, also has his own build and his own abilities. So, his abilities, he has Embrace, where you just pull enemies to you. It's a good grouping tool. Brings them nice and close. I actually have to go fetch energy. There's no limit on how far away you can get from your body. The only limit is how much soul you have. Your 2 is the thing you're actually seeing me doing with your revive, where I just like consume an enemy and cause them to ragdoll off into nothingness, which is very fun. Your 3 is your slam. Now all these guys are marked with that damaging effect of the 2. It applies so with the augment, but this is Death's Harvest. All these guys are now primed to explode, basically. And then your 4 just calls you back to the body. You do not have a pass. The shadow does not have a passive. So, and then the ability that most people are familiar with is the 3. This is Gloom. Everything within this circle that you can see is slowed based on my power strength, and on top of that, I get lifesteal based on my power strength. So, pretty much what you want to do with Sevagoth is, if you're doing some phenomenal grouping build like what I've got going, you'll press 2, you'll press 1, and as you can see, my meter is now full. There are some survivors, so I'm just getting onto my 4 and clean them up. Your 4 is way more durable. This is your more durable form. This is the squishy form. Not to say that this form is like 0 durability. With the build I have, you actually get quite a bit of durability once you pick up enough health orbs to proc your arcane blessing, and you stack up your Bolt Augmented for even more lifesteal on Gloom. You actually get pretty durable. You'll notice that I'm not running Arcane Energize. It's because I've just gone with Equilibrium. It seemed to work better than trying to rely on Arcane Energize for me, personally. So I've just gone with Equilibrium Flow. I've had no energy issues since I switched to that. I do take Preparation, because if you don't have Preparation, you don't have the energy to... if you were to replace this with, say, Cunning Drift, for instance, which is what I would recommend if you weren't going to use Preparation, you don't have enough energy to actually, like... I have energy because I'm R30 and I put a lot of forma into this, but you actually wouldn't have enough energy to cast your abilities. You'd start with, I do believe, 100. For those of you who don't know, little tidbit, the capacity here, your leftover capacity, will determine your starting energy. As you can see here, unused mod capacity increases the Warframe energy at start of mission. Mission start with 5 extra is 125, which is barely enough to get 1 cast of Sow and Reap. Actually, you get enough for 2 casts because it's 75. But if you try to use Gloom at all, you're not getting enough. So I just use Preparation. Of course, you could easily, replace Preparation with a yellow Archon shard set to energy maximum, and that would give you 45% per Tal Forge. 90% is going to be good enough. You could do that if you wanted, and then you could switch Preparation for like Cunning Drift or Power Drift. But that's the amount of damage this can do with just 55% strength. That's insane. Dark Propagation is doing a lot of that heavy lifting. Shadow Haze is very nice, especially if you plan on using any gun whatsoever, because this makes them more vulnerable to damage, And as you can see here, we get crit chance that is tacked in at the end. So if we have a weapon with, say, 2% crit chance, this has 4% because this is the prime, but with 4% crit chance, we would have 81%. So you can very, very easily get into those red crit numbers. And I'm going to just show that off real quick. Pause the AI, summon these guys up, send in my shadow. And now, as you can see, I'm actually getting quite a few. I think they have to die to it in order to get my crit. Or maybe it just you crit the enemies that are marked by the shadow. But yeah, that's how you rock Sevagoth. I will say there is a world where instead of using stretch, you just use streamline or even fleeting, and you just go like super spammy with abilities, because you won't need range if you just plan on hopping around and doing that to groups of enemies. That will inhibit the radius of dark propagation though, so I would recommend just using stretch. You can drop shadow haze if you want and go augur reach for even more range, or even overextended if you want to be kind of a madman. I haven't really felt the need for overextended. I don't like that it hits the power strength as much as it does either, because then you're not getting as much like upfront damage from this. I think if you really wanted to do like 175% range, or you could even get 190% if you were willing to switch out preparation for Archon shards and use Cunning Drift. But like, all those guys got affected, and now they're all dead. You do of course not get the multiple shadows, but you don't really need the multiple shadows. They're just kind of a fun thing to have. They do help your AoE a bit, but you know, as you can see, the hard targets, the heavy gunners, the bombards, the what are they called? The fire guys. The napalms, they will survive this a little bit, but for your fodder enemies, or if you pair this with like any sort of armor strip, like Unairu armor strip, you're gonna just like wipe these guys out. So, Sevagoth Shadow, as I said before, has this durable, like, tanky build, way more power strength, a little bit of range just because it's nice for your abilities to have some range. They do all scale with range. I've gone with Archon Vitality, Arcane Strike, and Molt Augmented because when you are in Sevagoth Shadow, you can only use the claws, and I've done a pure heat build with Melee Elementalist for the claws. We get good crit, we get good elemental damage. Pure heat means that we're really just relying on heat procs to kind of kill everything, which can be a little difficult against the Kuva Grenier, but against like the Infested, you're gonna rip them in half. Unfortunately, as you probably saw, the claws don't have the I have to oh, the Ancients are giving them damage reduction. I was trying to figure out why they didn't get insta-gibbed, and it's because Infested Ancients give a damage reduction. So the fact that I have 2 Ancient Healers, yeah, see, applies a damage reduction buff. So that's why those guys didn't get insta-gibbed. Now then, on to actually showing the claws here. Actually, just kind of proves how strong these claws are that I'm killing these guys through that damage reduction. And yeah, you get really good reach with these, actually, with Prime Reach, and really good damage. So, the Shadow's pretty nice. Part of the reason why we are running... Part of the reason we run Swift Momentum here, I'm running Swift Momentum for the heavy attack wind-up speed and the +6 melee combo duration. Of course, if you have something like the Epitaph or any other weapon, you can throw the dexterity mods in to get that 7.5 combo duration added on. But it's worth noting that his claws cannot use any of the amalgam mods. Normally, what I would recommend doing, and I'm going to pull out my Nakana just for showing this, I would recommend Amalgam Organ Shatter because you get that 60% heavy attack wind-up speed for only 5% less critical damage. It works really nice with Tennokai. Since Tennokai is always a heavy attack, you get this nice hybrid heavy attack, normal swinging build. Unfortunately, Sevagoth Claws can't use the Amalgam mods for some reason. I can't really figure out why those would be considered too powerful. You can't use Blood Rush on them either, because why would you? Or Weeping Wounds, which is just baffling to me that we still live in this world where people are begging for exalted weapons to get buffed, but exalted melees can't use the like few sets of mods that are actually letting them be relevant. The only reason why the Nakana Prime, for instance, is relevant is because you can use Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds on it. I used Blood Rush and then I dropped Weeping Wounds for Killing Blow because I like Killing Blows for the heavy melee damage because I use Tennokai with it. But if I was using like a more status-based weapon, I would want Weeping Wounds. I can't use Weeping Wounds on things like Excalibur's Exalted Blade. This is a tangential point, but Excalibur's Exalted Blade, which is a weapon that really wants status chance, cannot use Weeping Wounds, the premier status chance thing. People take Exalted Blade off of Excalibur because it's just not worth using, and part of it is because it has these unnecessary restrictions. Anyway, tangent aside, that's Sevagoth Prime. If you put in Shadow, it'll pull up Sevagoth, which is kind of nice. I have no idea why it pulls up Mesa when you put in Shadow. Oh, because it says Shadow right here in the Mesa Prime description. But, yeah, that's Sevagoth himself. He does come with Nautilus Prime. And the Nautilus Prime build, believe it or not, is exactly like the Nautilus build. It's just what we've always been using. I like Shield Charger. You can flex this for whatever. But Primed Regen, just because if it dies, it comes back faster. Momentous Bond is really, really nice because it just spreads your elemental damage. Manifold Bond is like the thing that you need to make sure that you have with Nautilus, because as you can read here, killing enemies with 3 or more unique status effects reduces companion ability cooldowns by 3 seconds, and that means that you'll proc a lot of Cordon. Cordon is absolutely the best thing in the game because he will just randomly force enemies to group up for you, and that's just got really, really good synergy with the build that I've just shown. I'm going to unequip this weapon real quick, so that way he more often will do the thing I actually want him to do, which is use Cordon. If he just fires off Cordon for me. You do the thing. You fire Cordon, please. There you go. So as you can see, they've been grouped up by Cordon, and now they just chain reaction, and they all go boom. So Cordon's really, really nice to have with Sevagoth, so I would pretty much always bring Nautilus for Sevagoth Prime. And bonus points, he's coming with the frame. He came with the frame. He looks sick as fuck. I enjoy this guy. Manifold Bond is really easy to proc too, especially if you are using the Epitaph Prime, because the Epitaph Prime has 185% status chance. So it's just layers on layers on layers, things made, matches made in heaven. But let's go on ahead and jump into a Steel Path, Axio, or maybe Omnia Fissure, and just kind of show how he does in those.
Is more powerful than before. Only with true mastery of the Tenno arsenal will you succeed.
So here we are. I decided to do the Omnia Fissure against the survival against the Murmur. I did go on ahead and grab the Glaxion just because I think the Glaxion's one of the better weapons to use.
Compromise the habitation systems. How predictable. Stand by the lights and more.
The reason I think the Glaxion's one of the better ones to use is because if you have been participating in Nightwave, the Glaxion has a mod that causes it to drop more energy. You get a 2% chance per cold stack on an enemy for it to drop energy orbs, which can just be really useful for Sevagoth. That and it's got a lot of status chance.
Papa left some bad things behind.
Do we want to fuck with the book? Sure, we'll fuck with the book. The problem is sometimes when you fight things like the book,
Listen, it's not you. It's wearing your skin, but it's not you. Kill it.
they get stuck in animations and they get kind of slowed. As you can see, stacking up those heat procs. It's actually just a good way to show off how effective the claws are at dealing with things. They get a few more heat procs. Oh, Gloom! One thing that I forgot to mention in the simulacrum part of it, if you have Gloom on, your Shadow benefits from it. So, like, as you can see, Shadow is taking damage there, and then I just healed back up. Thanks to Gloom. That, of course, you do need to, just nuke all those guys real quick.
Finish your mission to find out what's inside.
Nuking those guys also, like, rebuilt my meters, so now I can go into my 4, which will let me destroy this Grimoire. Very, very easily. Grimoire killed. No skin off my teeth, which is such a weird sting.
I'm glad you're okay.
And now we can just go back to nuking the map. See, those guys are all just dead. Those guys are all just dead. It does work better when the enemies are grouped, which is why we bring Nautilus with Cordon. But even if you don't have them like super grouped, they still, you know, they space booms. Turning all of your enemies into bombs and then blowing everything up turns out is a very good way to kill off your enemies.
Time and oxygen are running out. Sending another capsule.
Unfortunately, the Guzzlers are not affected by Gloom Slow. Which would actually just make it easier on me. Oh, am I gonna get him? Well, I did get him. I need to go hit an oxygen thing. Even though I have 200 kills in 3 minutes.
Seconds left to save your hide.
Even though I have almost 100 kills a minute. Apparently 100 kills a minute is not enough for the Axio fissures. Damn.
But we're there.
My bad. I almost failed this. That would have been egregious. My bad. I thought, you know, 290, 230 kills. That's 50 kills a minute. And I really haven't been trying to kill things. Killing things has been kind of an afterthought of just pressing my buttons.
Looks like you could use a bit of life support.
I can use the enemies to drop some life support. That's okay. I'm not fucking with you. You know what? Timer's up. We're almost done with the test here. But yeah, as you can see, Sevagoth no problem surviving this. Even if I did survive this, you've got to get out of jail free card. You just have to pick your fights right with what form you are. Like, I do not want to fight violence in this form, so I'm going to just turn into my Shadow. Oh, he's going to silence me.
And I am able to siphon valuables from their strongholds. They will never see this.
I'm surprised he can silence you out of this, because this doesn't even get stopped by nullifier bubbles. I think it's because I was in the middle of the cast, maybe? Oh, well, Shadow died. Thankfully, that doesn't really matter. Shadow dying is fine. It's when Sevagoth, the squishy one, Sevagoth himself dies. When the Shadow dies, you just go back into your normal form. Which is funny because Shadow can die and then you go into your normal form. And then you go back to Shadow when you die in the normal form. But yeah, as you can see, the whole room gets just nuked. Just nuke them. Turn them all into bombs and then blow them up. And if you're ever at any threat, just tell your big brother you're under threat and he rips them all up. Thankfully, Sevagoth Prime's claws are really, really good. What's funny is I oftentimes have a harder time surviving in this form than I do the other form. I have a harder time keeping energy up in this form too, but typically in this form I'm not using the abilities as much because I'm just doing this where I'm slashing around with claws and it's like, what do I need energy for? I'm just meleeing. And as long as I'm near my main body, I have lifesteal, so like, goodbye. Yeah. And now we go back here. And that is, that's Sevagoth Prime. I know I went on a slight tangent about exalted weapons there, but, otherwise it wasn't, you know, it's just Sevagoth. This is pretty much what this normal version of this frame does, only with, you know, without the 15 forma investment, because DE gave his claws 3 base V polarities in the Prime, which is really nice because you pretty much always have to use primed, pressure, fury, and reach. I don't want to pretend this mess can still work. Oh, also with this update, the Lotus Eaters, if you come over here, is she still there? She's still there. If you come over here, your Lotus is here.
Lotus. Margulis. Natah. We live. We rise. We endure.
So yeah, this is where the cinematic happens for the new event, or the new mission if you haven't done it. But yeah, guys, I wanna meditate on it. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Later.